fishing in Australia, we fish bait, and the last couple of years we typically fish two baits. We fish a skip bait, which will generally be a mackerel or a summertime bonito out here is what our big bait is, and then we'll fish a swimming bait, typically a swimming mackerel on the left rigger. The last few years we started putting a lure out on a shotgun, which is typically about twice as far back as our long rigger bait, and we've been doing really well on the shotgun the last couple of seasons.
How far back is that?
Well, I fish my big bait at 24 arm lengths, and then my shotgun's at 42 arm lengths. And my swimming bait's at 18 arm lengths.
How big are these baits? I know you all.
Well, you can fish a 100-pound wahoo, but holding it in the outrigger is a bit hard. So typically, we'll fish a 10 to 15-pound mackerel, and your standard summertime bonita. That is a good bait to get a fish up on top and get aggressive. But elephants eat peanuts, and we've caught a lot of big fish on a swimming mackerel that big. So when we're in the Dominican Republic, we'll fish two lures and then two squid chains and two dredges, and we'll be pitching our fish that we raise on circle hook dead baits. I like a mullet for a pitch bait down there because they're cheap. You can get multiple bites on them, whereas typically a mackerel you get one bite and it's over. So if we're charter fishing, so we got anglers that aren't as experienced as some of these guys that go every day. So if we can present a bait like a mullet or a strip that we can get multiple bites out of, that really helps us in increasing our hookup rate.
Okay. And Brad, down there, are you shipping your baits in, or how are you getting your bait there in Guatemala?
We catch all our bait locally, August normally in the rains. Ballyhoo, blast freeze them ourselves, brine them, freeze them, ziplock them. Probably go through about 7,000 baits a year. Whew. So we do that each year ourselves. Saves a lot of ziplocks. Yeah. Quality of bait's important. I personally like to troll fast. As far as sail fishing goes, I'm trolling at about 8.5 knots. Ballyhoos in the riggers, teasers up short, and a good quality ballyhoo lasts. Every time you change a ballyhoo out, you're not fishing. That bait comes out the water, the hook's out the water, you ain't catching anything on it. So the longer the bait lasts, the longer the hook's in the water, the more you increase the averages, you put the averages in your favor, and that's what it's about at the end. So yeah, bait quality, bait management, a good quality cooler, salt your bait down, look after your baits. They'll look after you.
And Bouncer, I know tournament time in South Florida, bait is a critical piece of the equation. How much time you spend catching and keeping your bait?
I'm going tarpon fishing tonight, and my mate just texted me that he spent 5 hours finding enough live shrimp to go. So,
wow.
and that's going to the bait shop to get them. But we're in a live bait fishery here, and some bait fish you can catch and put in a cage, and after a few days they'll start to eat, and after a couple of weeks you could take them out of the live well, and I truly believe maybe you could lay them in the sun for an hour and throw them back in the water. They swim away. They become so hard. We call them hard bait, and you can use them over and over again, and you're impervious to damage as long as you don't get too much fresh water or too cold the water. I've seen everybody's bait die from a bad cold front. But a lot of our baits, we have to catch them fresh every day. And today in fishing, I went to Costa Rica and we spent 3 hours catching bait to go rooster fishing. And wherever you go in the world today, catching bait is part of the game. And for a charter boat, it's really good because we get to learn how skillful our people are at fishing. But things to think about with bait. If the shrimp are running when we're tarpon fishing, then shrimp's going to be the bait to go with. If you can't even buy a shrimp because they're not running, a lot of time crabs or mullet will be better. When you go out on the edge, this time of year you see a lot of flying fish, and there's schools of sardines on the edge. Pilchards, herring, and sardines are the best baits to go with. But if you're out on the edge and there's loads of little baby bonitas or a lot of blue runners on the wrecks and stuff, then baits like goggle eyes or tinker mackerel will be a far superior bait because the sailfish are watching for what's in the water that they're in. So if they're keying in on bonitas, you need a bait that looks like a bonita to catch their attention. Conversely, if they're keying in on flying fish, then a herring or a pilchard splashing underneath the kite is hard to beat.